Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for my review of Ninjago Season 11, Episode 10, Ancient History. We begin with a brief scene on the roof of a building with Esfira and Char, and she desires to go after the Deceiver, so the Fire Fang picks up the Deceiver's scent and pretty much points them towards the direction of the Deceiver, who we will later learn the identity of. So then the ninja escape the Museum of History and begin to calculate a plan of what to do. So they decide to split up with Jay, Kai, and Cole going underground to seek out the Serpentine and Scales, while the other three ninja will go to fight Asphira. So while those other three ninja are going to find Asphira, Zane decides to split up and go get the Shuricopter, while Nia fights some pyro snakes and Lloyd tries to distract Asphira. Meanwhile, the other three ninja go underground and encounter Scales, who takes them to the library, and Acidicus reads them the tale of Asphira and the treacherous Deceiver. They immediately deduce that the Deceiver is Garmadon, and they return to the monastery to tell Wu, but then at the end of the episode, Wu reveals that he is indeed the Deceiver, and not Garmadon. First of all, I loved seeing the Serpentine Generals back. It's been about 2 years since we saw Scales last. I was last in episode 71 from season 7. As for Acidicus, this is the first time his name has actually been revealed in the series, I believe. And also, I don't think we've seen him since season 3. So it was really cool to see them back, and it felt appropriate to, even how Scales acknowledges that they're only there because of a threat on the surface world. So all in all, it felt really good, and I loved seeing these guys back. It's always awesome when they bring back old characters. So yeah, that definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Also, we learned more about the backstory in this episode too. Even though the next episode will really give us a lot of backstory, this episode did some explanation, explaining some of the backstory, so I thought that was good. As for the other side of this episode, I love the fight scenes again. They're just really, really good. And how the ninja are fighting Asphira and the pyro snakes, it just worked really, really well. And I love the fight scenes too. The animation of the sky also looked really nice too, so all in all, really well done for this episode. Even the end of the episode was definitely very haunting when Wu reveals that he is the treacherous Deceiver, so I think that this episode did a lot of things right. So this isn't necessarily a complaint with the episode specifically, but I'm just a bit underwhelmed by Asphira. My initial reaction to her was that she looked really cool, and in episodes 5 and 8, she definitely was really cool. Also in episode 9 too, and I have watched the future episodes, so I know what does happen to her at the end of the fire chapter. And obviously I won't spoil that in this video, but by this episode I was really expecting her to start coming along a bit more. And by this point she's still just fixated on revenge. So I don't really like that much, and I was hoping by this episode we'd start to see some different sides of her, one that isn't necessarily screaming about revenge constantly. And I think that's a bit disappointing that we aren't yet seeing that, and we may never see it again, so I don't think that's a good thing necessarily. Again, more complaint with her character rather than the episode, but again, this is the episode where I was expecting her to start coming together a bit more. So my final thoughts for this episode, again, I do think this was a really nicely balanced episode. The fight scenes were very, very good for this episode, so yeah, when we're talking about action, I feel like they did definitely deliver. Not as good as episode 9, but I mean, episode 9 is really going to be hard to beat. I still feel like the fight scenes in this episode were really, really good. I also love the plot of this episode too. Bringing back the Serpentine was a good idea, and it was just really nice to see these characters back. So all in all, I think that's definitely a thumbs up again from me. And characters, well, there wasn't anyone who definitely stood out in this episode necessarily, not like the last episode for sure. But I think all the characters were nicely balanced, and I think that was good. So yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone really stood out to me in this episode, but just the balance of the characters and how they were acting was good enough for me. So yeah, and then talking about the emotion of this episode too. Again, the end of the episode was definitely a bit scary, and it was a decent plot twist too when Wu was revealed to be the treacherous Deceiver. So I liked also when the ninja came to the conclusion that it was Garmadon. Just Jay during that scene was pretty funny while he was deducing that the Deceiver was Garmadon and saying that it had to be someone old, someone treacherous. So yeah, I did like that scene, and all in all, I do feel like the humor has definitely taken a step above and is improving as the season goes on. My final rating for this episode would be a 9 out of 10. I felt like this was a very strong episode like Powerless, and even better in some places. I feel like the backstory of this episode is great, although the next episode is really going to show us more of the backstory, so I think this was some nice foreshadowing for that. And again, seeing the Serpentine back was great. I love how they're bringing back these old characters, and staying true to their word that many old characters would return, as well as new characters too. So all in all, I think that's great. Unlike some of the earlier episodes of this season, this was fun to watch, actually had meaning, and did push the plot forward too, while also focusing on other aspects too. So this was a really fun episode. Thanks for watching this review. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with everyone you know. Let me know what you thought of episode 10, Ancient History. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.